Have you ever felt like you might be addicted to being a business owner? Like you just can't pull yourself away from your laptop? Like if you stop working, everything is gonna fall apart? If you ever felt like that, you're absolutely not alone, my friend. I used to feel like that all the time too, and that's why I wanted to make this little video for you about being a business owner versus being a business addict. And let me start with a little personal story. So back in 2016, I landed this huge guest posting opportunity. I mean, it was a massive opportunity. If I told you what the name of the site was, you would definitely know what it was. And there was just one problem. I had scheduled the deadline for the guest post the same week as my big vacation to Colorado with my husband. And while I was on vacation, as a result of my own poor time and task management skills, I could not stop thinking about that guest post. I couldn't relax, I couldn't enjoy it. I was only thinking about that opportunity. Present day Jordan would never, but back then this was a real thing that I did. I remember so clearly that instead of enjoying rest and relaxation, I would actually pester my husband about the guest posts and ask him over and over, what did he think about the editor's feedback? Did he think that I could do it better? Just really annoying questions, honestly, about something I shouldn't have even been thinking about. Rather than feeling so grateful for being in that beautiful snowy environment with the person I love more than anything, I thought about, man, I can't wait to get home and like finish this work up and get this opportunity out there and like keep growing my business. And instead of enjoying the incredible nature and really being truly present to it, I constantly looked down at my phone for any email updates on the guest post, completely out of the moment and inside my head, more specifically inside of my business mentally. Yes, my body was there in Colorado on vacation, but my brain was completely in my business. It was not in that present moment at all. And this all sounds crazy to me now because it is the exact opposite of how I run my business today. The worst part is I didn't have to do any of that. That could have been a non-stressful thing. Financially, it didn't affect anything at all. I could have just set the deadline to a later time. I could have fully disconnected and enjoyed that vacation with no issue whatsoever. But in my mind, not because of any actual problems, but solely because of my workaholism, none of that was possible. I felt this constant sense of urgency, and the business was always the top priority. The truth is that happened because I wasn't running my business like a business owner. I was running my business like a business addict. I could talk for probably hours and hours about how I feel childhood trauma and trauma in general is linked to addiction and specifically workaholism. If you guys would like to hear me talk about that, not from obviously a practitioner standpoint or a mental health expert standpoint, but just things I've noticed and my own journey and experience, definitely let me know and comment below because I would love to talk about that more. But for now, let's talk about some signs you might be a business addict, so maybe you can work on having some boundaries with your business, or at least recognizing this pattern so you can take small steps to start to improve it. Because it's really not worth running a business if you're going to be stressed out and miserable all the time. The reason you started a business was to have freedom, so let's get you some of that freedom by avoiding becoming a business addict. Sign number one is that you don't have hobbies outside of work. In 2018, I literally started crying in therapy when she asked me what my hobbies were, because when she asked me that, I realized, holy shit, I actually don't have any hobbies outside of work, which again to me today sounds absolutely fucking crazy. I would never be in that situation today. Back then, because I was so addicted to running my business and growing it unnecessarily so, because I didn't have to do that, it was just part of that addiction. That's the situation I found myself in. Sign number two is since you started your business, maybe you developed severe insomnia and anxiety. Sleeplessness occasionally, anxiety occasionally. I think that happens to most people, but if it's crippling, debilitating, and constant, that's a real issue, okay? It's something that you want to address and maybe look at your life, your business specifically, and go, is my constant sense of urgency and my constant need to be plugged in, is that maybe causing some of these issues? I was in denial about that myself for a long time, but I encourage you to really get real with yourself, like I had to do eventually, and be honest about whether or not this could be affecting you. Number three is you lack boundaries between work time and personal time. So maybe you're checking emails outside of work hours. Do you even have set work hours, or are you just kind of like, well, I'm on call 24/7. If a client emails me at 10 p.m., I'm gonna email them back right away. If that is you, we gotta get you some better boundaries. Like, if that's you, I'll literally do a video on boundaries so you can stop torturing yourself by doing that, because it's just not healthy. I want you to take care of yourself. Yes, running a business requires work, but we don't have to drive ourselves crazy in the process. Do you get on your social media accounts, which you also use for your business, in the evenings and on weekends? Okay, this is a big one. You don't have to be perfect with this. I know a lot of us use social media outside of business hours. That's fine, but just get curious about it. Is it something you're doing? Are you constantly scrolling on your Instagram account, which you do also use for work, outside of work hours? This was a big one for me back a long ass time ago when I was actually active on social media. I'm really not anymore, at least as of the time of posting this video. But yeah, I used to do that, and I would get like customer service DMs and comments asking me to sort of do things related to the business outside of work hours, and I realized that that was really taking a toll on me. That was really causing me to come out of the present moment and really just making me stressed out and anxious when that was totally unnecessary. So I would invite you to take a look at your boundaries around work time versus personal time as well. Another sign is stopping work makes you feel antsy. You cannot shut off. You feel like you always need to be working because rest does not feel safe. If resting does not feel safe, that is a pretty big sign that you may be a business addict, especially if stopping work causes you a lot of anxiety and you just feel like you always have to be doing something. I used to feel like that all the time. So if you feel like that, you're not alone, and I do want you to know there are steps you can take to improve your situation. It does not always have to be this way. Number 5 is that basically work, or often specifically the feeling of worthiness you get from achievement, is your top life priority over virtually everything else. Again, I have to say here, you're not alone if you feel like this. I used to feel like this a lot. It's something I've dealt with my whole freaking life, and it's taken me so much work to even start to chip away at. But I do want you again to know, just if you are in this situation, if you can relate to it, it's something worth looking into. I'm certainly not saying you gotta change your, lifelong issue overnight, but it may be good to start looking at it so you can begin to work on it. So since the whole guest posting in Colorado situation many years ago, I've changed a lot. I run a really minimalist business. I'm very anti-hustle in my approach. I have extreme boundaries, very strong boundaries around my business. I don't use social media at the time of recording this video. Never say never. I may be back on it sometime. But yeah, I have really, really strong set boundaries, and those boundaries allow me to not succumb to business addiction, and most importantly, just live my life. Actually be present, be here, enjoy time with my husband, my dogs, vacationing, whatever it is that I'm doing, reading a book. I'm not sitting around thinking about emails and work while I'm doing those things. I can be really present. So my big mindful business owner secret is when work time is over, I actually try to live as if my business does not exist. Truly, it's like none of that shit exists to me right now. Doesn't fucking exist. Only thing that matters is this tree I'm looking at on my walk, or my dog's fur that I'm feeling while I'm petting him and he's cuddling with me. Whatever it is I'm doing, that is what I try to be focused on. Am I perfect at this? Abso-fucking-lutely not. But I get a little bit better every day, and the changes I've made thus far have allowed me to be a much happier and more fulfilled person. So living as if my business doesn't exist, that means I have strict set work hours, and when those are over, I don't obsessively check email. I'm not talking and thinking and worrying about work, and I sure as hell am not spending any vacation time stressing over a guest post. I'm living my life in the moment, as fully present as possible. That is really the key to happiness. If I've learned one thing over my many years of self-improvement, living your life in the moment, fully present, that is what's gonna make you feel really happy. Not being consumed by the to-dos in your mind as a business addict. So my friend, I highly encourage you to develop these kinds of boundaries within your business too. And it's okay if you're not perfect, right? You're gonna have off days. If you go out with your friends at night, they may ask you how business is going, or you may have a work meeting that runs late one day. That is totally fine. That's to be expected. I know there are times for me, like when I'm doing a product launch, I'll work later than normal. But we have to have a norm to deviate from, right? We can't just have, oh, whatever the fuck happens is fine. I have no boundaries. We want to have a norm and be really intentional about when and how we deviate from it. And it's okay if you're not perfect, but I encourage you to take these steps toward getting away from business addiction, because I know it can be a very dark place. Most importantly, know that you do not have to become a business addict to be successful, okay? Like I said about that guest post opportunity, totally unnecessary the way I stressed myself out. Did not make a bit of a difference. It was truly all in my head, and I could have fully enjoyed that vacation. I just didn't do it because I was a business addict. And when you're on a special special vacation in Colorado with the love of your life, the last freaking thing in the world you should be thinking about is writing a damn guest post. Now, I would love to hear your thoughts on this topic. Let me know if you relate to any of these feelings, because like I've said and will continue to say, you are so not alone if you've ever felt like any of these things, right? It's so freaking common. And I want you to remember that the smiling faces you see on Instagram and TikTok or whatever of people who are running big businesses, that doesn't paint the whole picture of their life. It doesn't show the whole story. There are so many times where people are taking that smiling photo and then probably going off to yell at their employees, or taking that smiling photo and then having a panic attack. These things are really common, so much more common than you would think just by judging what something looks like from the outside. So I would love your thoughts on this topic, and if you would like for me to talk more about boundaries and this topic in general here on the channel, please comment and let me know, because I love sharing this kind of stuff about my journey with you guys. And if you want to connect with me or work with me, first of all, you gotta subscribe to the channel here and join my free weekly newsletter that I currently send out every Thursday afternoon by going to writingrevolt.com/newsletter. That is probably my favorite part of running my business, honestly. Like, I freaking love writing that newsletter. I love seeing all the replies from you guys, and there's over 30,000 actually writers now on that newsletter, so it's good shit. You will enjoy it, and if you hate it, you can just unsubscribe. That's fine with me. You can also join Killer Cold Emailing, linked below, which is my newly updated best-selling step-by-step program about how to start freelance writing without the burnout, the bullshit, the business addiction, and hustling like crazy. None of that. We are not doing that. I'm giving you the step-by-step anti-hustle method for growing your writing business from scratch. And you can also check out my free classes as well as my favorite writing tools in the description box, business tools as well. There's just a lot of good shit down there in the description box, like in every single video. So I encourage you to go down there. I got a lot of discount links for different writing and business tools. I have my free classes. I believe as of the time of this video being published, the new Killer Cold Emailing will be out, as well as my new free writing masterclass. Click down below and take that, because it is all updated for 2023. It's really, really good shit, and I'm so excited to hear about you guys taking those classes. And to wrap up, I just want to say, as always, thank you so much for watching. I really love and appreciate this community. Comment below and let me know your thoughts on the videos. Subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.